Hi, I'm Quinten Hyde and welcome to another episode of the Quinten Hyde podcast. I feel like I've set up my camera much differently from usually if you're watching the video version. I just don't know what's different. Anyway, today's episode is going to be a rant essentially on some stuff that I've been seeing online that is driving me absolutely nuts, and that is the promotion of being a terrible person. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean, like a promotion as in like they get like a higher role within their company or like within their job? No, promotion as in like it being promoted, as in people online, not everyone of course, seem to heavily promote and favor and be like, oh hell yeah, do this, being a terrible person. And I'm gonna give you some examples. A lot of the examples from my perspective are from what I've seen women do. This is not because I'm one of them incel people that's like, oh, women do this a lot, like way more than men. Definitely not. Absolutely not. The reason that is the case is because I think statistically I follow significantly more women than men. So that's why I see it more often, because algorithms is like, oh, Quinten follows more women, let's show him more women on like the TikTok For You page, for example. So I wanted to get that out of the way before I end up on Reddit r incels or something. That was not my intention, at least. Now, something basically what I'm trying to say is, for example, I'll see like a TikTok or a tweet or something where it's literally like, when your man has been upsetting you this afternoon, so you hook up with his best friend. Obviously, 9 out of 10 times this is a joke, but I see the entire comment section flooded being like, oh, yes, queen, yes, girl, go get it, sis. And it pisses me off, because I'm just like, how would you promote, like, whenever I see that, and also when I see a man doing where it's like, oh, when your girl's freaking breasts are too small, so you sleep with her sister. I don't find that particularly funny. I know that, like, you know, comedy differs, but I see stuff like, oh yeah, hell yeah, bro, I would do the same thing. Why are we promoting that kind of behavior? It sets such a weird, dark narrative, and I know a lot of that comes from me personally, because I am a person who has, like, whose only issue in life is a fear of abandonment. Something that has been kind of fired up after my last relationship, in which someone told me they love me, and then a week later said, yeah, I'm leaving you because you like to watch other things on TV and you refuse to do hard drugs with me. You know, that kind of stuff already doesn't really help me personally, and then I see so much of that on For You page, on Twitter. I see it everywhere, and everyone is just kind of like, oh, period, sis. Also, I hate that way of speaking. Like, oh my god, but that's just fully besides the point. But people who speak like that, oh god, I cannot imagine anyone speaking like that in real life. But anyway, it pisses me off, because I'm just like, why are we consistently, even if it's comedy, promoting being a terrible person? Like, I will literally see stuff like, for example, it was a joke. Obviously it was a joke. That was like an acted one where there was this guy and you hear his girlfriend speak in the background where she's like, would you love me if I cut all my hair? And he's like, of course. Would you love me if I did so-and-so? Yes, of course. Would you love me if I had never existed? And he goes, well, no, that'd be a bit hard, wouldn't it? And she like starts yelling at him and like hitting him from outside of the screen. And people's reactions are just like, even though it's a joke, they're like, haha, yeah, I would do the same. And I'm like, why are we all being proud of our toxicities? I feel like everyone to a certain degree has like a level of toxicity. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm perfect. I have some issues of my own, which is why I'm actually enrolling into therapy. A few days from now, I actually have my first day, like my therapy intake, where they're gonna see where they're gonna place me, like with what specific therapist. And the reason is because I don't want to sit and have these problems forever. Like, I know I can figure them out on my own because I'm relatively good at that, but that would take me a long amount of time and a lot of heartbreak and a lot of pain, which has happened to me multiple times. And I can tell you, I'm not going to go into detail on that, but my family, my whole family, is not really good with that stuff. Like, for the stuff that I'm going very much in like, for like relationship-based things, like personal and relationship-based things. I can tell you, my family's not great with that. Imagine if I would just sit there and be like, huh, yeah, you guys, I always pick people who hurt me tremendously. And then everyone's like, oh, same, that's funny. And here's the thing. I can see how that for some people could be a coping mechanism. Like, I see that with a lot of people. Like, I make jokes about For example, I used to have heavy neuroticisms. Like I used to have pretty bad OCD. And I would like joke around about that too. Like, oh, can't touch that light switch because, don't want my mom to burn down. This is an actual example, by the way. I would joke around about it like that. But in a lot of senses, I feel like, we've as a society, oh God, oh no, I'm a society saying person. That's horrible. As a society, I see that a lot of us are embracing bad things. We're embracing our bad things as if they were good and quirky things. And I feel like this is because a lot of people are so insecure about themselves that they feel like they are not interesting and therefore they embrace their flaws instead of their strengths. Even though even the most boring people in the world still have good sides that they should embrace. That's why I feel like there's a lot of people out there who lie about labels that they got. And this is not me being like, oh, I know this is I feel like this is happening. I know for a fact that it's happening because I've seen people who've said it to me. And I'm not gonna expose any of these people. These people are not people that I am personally affiliated with, but I know that there are people out there that lie about their labels, and not every label is a bad one. Like for example, being LGBT, not a bad thing. Though I still know that there's people out there who lie about LGBT. They are straight and then pretend to be bi. I know this because they've told me. And because they're like, yeah, people will relate to me more if I'm bi. And since I'm bi, I could just always date the gender that I like and never date anything else. No one will find out. I am very much against that. Because I feel like that hurts LGBT more than it does anything. And it pisses me off for them. That's why I'm never going to lie about my sexuality. I am heterosexual. I'm straight. I only like women. I'm not going to sit here and lie about that. But when we take less wonderful labels, for example, think of any mental illness thing. Someone is just they feel bad for 3 days and someone just goes out there and is like, I have depression. How do you know that? How do you know that? How did 3 days of being sad just turn into depression? And then everyone else just oh, same, me too. Because they feel like it's some sort of collective thing. You're part of the fun depression club. No, don't do that because... One, don't lie about things. I absolutely despise lying. That's why 99% of everything I say is 100% the truth. And if I don't want to say anything, I will most likely just not answer the question. But it harms the people that have it, etc. But we're getting a little bit off topic because I'm focusing more on the terrible stuff that I'm seeing people do. There's a lot of even those Instagram comedy videos that really glorify cheating and being terrible to your significant other. A lot of it is being terrible to your significant other. And it pisses me off. I've seen stuff where they're and this is I'm trying to find the exact tweet, but it was something along the lines of, my boyfriend forgot our anniversary, so I cheated on him 3 times or something. When I read that, I get really upset. I'm not even I don't know these people. It just ends up on my timeline. But I get so angry because of that, simply because I hate that kind of behavior tremendously. I have no respect for that. I got really angry when I saw that. And I expected the comments to be predominantly people not loving that. I thought, I read 3 people who were this is terrible. But all of them were oh, period sis, that is queen shit. Shut the hell up. What do you think? First up, what do you think a queen is? Though, if you look back into history, a lot of monarchies have been known to cheat a bunch, so maybe she meant that very literally. But I'm just how would you promote this? And the initial cheater just being ah, thanks sis. I'm just what the hell are you on about? Why do you think this is fun? Why do you think this is quirky? Why do you think this is funny? It breaks my heart to see people be like that to the people they are saying they love. That was a terrible sentence, but another example, I had this girl reach out to me on, I want to say Instagram or something, and she was very flirtatious. Now, I don't mind that. That is not something that, is bad. She was oh, I think you're so cute. Basically, she was just implying that she would want to go out with me, etc., etc. I was not interested, which, was also perfectly fine. I was flattered until I clicked on her profile, and I saw that she had a boyfriend for the last 2 years, and every other post was oh, I love my boyfriend. Gosh, can't wait to grow old with my boyfriend. Love him. My boyfriend. It broke my heart for him. I did not reach out to him. I did nothing. I stayed fully out of it, now that I think about it. Like, I don't know, maybe something else would have been better. But it broke my heart. And I literally Snapchatted my friend Jesper Lust to tell him what happened. Because it had genuinely upset me so much, where it was like, how can you? Like, I told him, it is terrifying to me. I mean, exactly, like, especially after what I told you happened in my last relationship, that any person could just, behind your back, be flirting with a bunch of people. And you would have no idea, because you don't check each other's phones, because why would you? I've never wanted to check, like, a significant other's phone. But it's, gosh, like, that is heartbreaking. At least I personally think that is heartbreaking. And I don't know, like, I told my friend that, and he was like, well, I mean, you gotta keep in mind, this is not the majority. This is like a small, very shitty minority group of people who do that. But still, it is upsetting. Like, I see it happen, like, there's a lot of it on TikTok too, where it's like, my girlfriend did this and this, so now I'm breaking this important makeup palette of hers. My boyfriend did this and this, and now I'm drowning his PlayStation 4 in the toilet. And then the whole comments are like, ah ha ha, funny, and like 3 of them are like, yo, that's very bad. And it baffles me. Why are we glorifying the terrible things? But it's not just that. It's also like bad things that an individual does to themselves. Like, I'll see people who are like, oh, I drink alcohol 5 times a day, every single day, quirky. And then there's other people like, oh, I would do the same thing. I'm doing the same thing. Hee. What are you proud of? What are you proud of? That is genuinely alcoholism, which is like a huge worldwide problem that many people die of or like hurt themselves with so much. Or like, if we take something a little bit more like outside of that, where they're like, oh, what can I find? What can I find? I'm just looking around the room, just seeing if I can, because I didn't make any notes for this episode. Or where they're like, yeah, like even if we take it a little bit less seriously, I have a sleeve of Oreos laying around on my couch. Like, imagine if someone's like, I eat an entire sleeve of Oreos, or like 2 sleeves of Oreos every single day. That too is tremendously unhealthy. That is horrible. That's not good for you. Same way, like I've mentioned before in the podcast, I occasionally vape marijuana. Weed, if you want. I recently found out that not everyone knows what marijuana is. That was very, like, shocking. Like, I was talking to someone, I was like, yeah, marijuana, this and this, and she was like, yeah, I've never done that, I've done weed, though. I was like, it's the same thing, it's just a different word. But I do this very responsibly. I don't talk about it overly much online, mainly because, well, my videos on TikTok about that would be taken down, or I would lose money on, like, ads and that kind of stuff, but also because I don't want people to think that I'm promoting it. Because I know that it's not a good thing for you. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, it's super good for you. I do that 8 times a day. Absolutely not. It's not every day even. Like that sounds like it's like impressive or something, but I know many people, even in person, who do it like every day or like twice a day. That's not good for you. And I know that. And I know that having a problem, like admitting you have a problem, is a pretty big thing. But don't act like what you're doing is a good thing if you're being either harmful to yourself and especially to others. Like, seeing people be horrible to other people and just shrugging that off as being queen shit. Oh God, does it piss me off, like, enough to make a whole, like, podcast episode out of. I don't understand it, because it's like, I don't understand. Like, imagine if we gave, like, no attention to that, people would stop bragging about it. But they're doing it more because for some people, like, for some reason, people are saying that it's a good thing. Like, I'll see people brag about terrible things, and then everyone's like, oh, same, oh, funny, oh, I wish I was brave enough. Brave enough? No, you're just being a bad person. And I don't get it. I don't get it. I think that's my main frustration. That I genuinely, because 9 out of 10 times, I'm really good at analyzing people's behavior and the reason they do things, but I think this pisses me off because it's, like, fully in the unknown for me. I do not understand why the heck you would be purposefully a bad person and then also brag about it. Like, for example, great example. Yes, I knew I had something. I used to follow this girl on TikTok. I don't anymore, simply because the way she talked about it pissed me off so much I couldn't follow her anymore. And she made this whole video where she was like, when he's good for you, but you cheated on him 5 times already, and then like the audio was something along the lines of, oopsie, or something. It was very dismissive. Luckily, those comments were actually filled with the majority of people being like, hey, why are you bragging about this? Why are you bragging about, because she also pointed out that she did that in every relationship. Why are you bragging about this? And I was actually surprised because she seemed like a very decent person in most posts. And then she made this whole follow-up post where she was like, oh, well, I can't really help it because, I got like a mental illness and it makes me cheat on people. Here's the thing, mental illness is so broad of a subject. And I'm sure that there are some mental states that will push you more into that direction. But don't just go, I just happen to be like this, let's just accept me for the way I am, when there is a problem. No, what you should be doing is staying out of relationships, going into therapy, fixing that, and then trying to be better. Not just being like, whoop, guess this is just the way I am, and then going at it, and then keep doing that when you're hurting other people. Yourself too, like you shouldn't hurt yourself either, but you're tremendously hurting other people every single time, but also lastingly. Like being cheated on or being hurt in a certain way can leave a lasting pain on someone that lasts like for like either forever or like even it changes a person. Like I don't think, like as far as I know, I've never been cheated on, but I know it would break my heart into a million pieces and I would trust any new partner 100 times less. Like the way, like I said, my previous relationship ended has already broken a tremendous amount of trust in other people for me, which is why I'm working on like fixing that. But having someone just have terrible, terrible choices, then bragging about them themselves, then basically being like, oh, it's just the way I am, you can't say anything about it, and then have like third persons, as in like not third, like a third person, but like in a third person perspective, like a bunch of third people. This is terrible. The way I'm telling this is terrible, but you're smart, you get me. To just be like, oh, this is good. What you're doing is not even neutral. It is good. It is something I command, and it is something that I think is cool. I cannot. I don't understand it. I do not understand it. Like, I understand staying away from it when it has nothing to do with you. I understand even more staying away from it when it doesn't harm any other people. But when someone is actively telling how they actively hurt other people, and your reaction is, haha, yes, that is so cool, I do not get that. I don't. I genuinely don't understand that. And I think that's what makes it hard, like I've said before. But that was basically all that I had to say on it. This was a pretty short episode. I know, I'm so sorry. But I would love to hear what you think about it though, either by tweeting me at Quinten Hyde on Twitter, or if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. Something cool though, this podcast is now no longer only on Spotify and YouTube, but it's also on like a bunch of other platforms, but still not Apple because they're so difficult about nothing. Also their platform, like it's weird because I love Apple and all of their products and they're super user-friendly. Their podcast submission platform is so user-unfriendly. Oh my God, is it hard to get stuff on there? Like, I don't even know how to put it on there a second time after they refused it. So I'm like trying to work that out a little bit. Anyway, yeah, it's been, currently, I think it's like on YouTube, Spotify, I want to say Deezer. It's definitely on Google Podcasts. And I want to say it's like on Stitcher and one other, like TuneIn or something. So I don't know what you're listening to this on, but I can see that when I look into my analytics a little bit later. But I just like that it's on more platforms, just waiting for it to be on Apple now. And then basically, I think we got everything complete, so that's kind of cool. Thank you so much, though, for listening to this. Would love to know what you thought, like I said earlier, and I would love to see you next time. Bye, y'all.